Let's have a little discussion about the naming of teams in the world of Rwby, and one team in particular, the unofficial team consisting of Jaune, Lai, Ren, Oscar Pine, and Nora Valkyrie, that became pseudo-official as of the Volume 7 opening and the image that was shown there, with all four of them showing in their silhouettes with their respective colors, showing that they are in fact a team, as Team Rwby was shown just before that with silhouettes and their respective colors as well. Now, there is a bit of confusion as to what exactly this team goes by. There have been people who continue to call them Team Juniper, considering Oscar Pine, having P with his last initial, could be the P to replace Pyrrha in Juniper. There's also Team Orange, which it seems Rooster Teeth itself is calling it, and then there's also Team Alpine, which I myself have called them all throughout Volume 7. And recently this discussion came back up when I posted a theory video on Volume 8 on the little prelude that we got to the volume itself, and there were people questioning why I was calling them Team Alpine, and other people were confused as to where this team name came from. So I want to make this video discussing why I call them Team Alpine and why I think Alpine is the logical name for this group of four, as I know the discussion's going to come up again in the future. When I start making the episode reviews of Volume 8, I'm going to continue to call them Team Alpine, and the discussion's going to arise again. Of course, as Volume 8 progresses, things could definitely change, and a better team name could be more suitable, but for now, Team Alpine does seem the most logical, based on what we know so far as of the end of Volume 7. Now, team names in the world of Rwby always consist of 4 letters and 4 members, at least when we're considering the teams that have come from the academies. There are teams that are exceptions to this. The Aesops, for example, 5-member team, don't really have a naming acronym associated with them, but the general naming rule when it comes to teams in Rwby is that a team name consists of 4 letters. 1 letter for each member of the team that is pulled from the characters' names themselves. Often it's the first letter of the first name of each of the characters, but it could also be the first letter of the last name of the characters, or any combination of which. Ultimately, you will have 4 letters when naming a team, and they need to come together to form a team name that is needing to represent a color, or remind you of a color. This falls within the color naming rule that was laid out by Monty himself. I made a video breaking down that in greater detail, but that makes naming teams a little bit more difficult. And to add on top of that, in the world of Rwby, the first letter in the team name is supposed to be representing the leader of the team. That is the case across every team that we've encountered in the Rwby series thus far. Team Rwby, Team Juniper, Team Auburn, Team Cardinal, all of them. The first letter that is in the team name comes from the name of the leader of the team. And so that needs to hold true for every team into the future. That's just part of the rule that we go by. Things could change, obviously, if it's put into writing or announced in some way, shape, or form, but the leader of the team is always the first initial, as far as we know up until now. So when it comes to naming Team Alpine, or Team Orange, or Team Juniper, well, who is the leader of this group of 4? Currently, as of the Volume 7, it has always been Jaune. Sure, Oscar is going to have some leadership potential in the future, but he is still learning. As of right now, Jaune, Nora, and Ren are fully trained and licensed huntsmen. Maybe not necessarily fully trained, they didn't exactly finish their schooling, but they are still fully licensed huntsmen, whereas Oscar is not on that skill level yet. And in Volume 7, he was certainly not the leader of this team. Jaune still was, as considering 3 of these characters are members of the original Team Juniper, it makes sense that Jaune is still the leader. Both Nora and Ren are still following Jaune's orders and are used to working under those circumstances. So Oscar is falling in line with that. So immediately, Team Orange just doesn't make sense with our current circumstances. If, as I said, things change in Volume 8, that Oscar does take charge, especially now that Ozpin has returned. If Oscar can pull upon the knowledge that Ozpin has and takes the leadership role, and Jaune, Nora, and Ren start following Oscar, then Team Orange definitely becomes what the team name is, with Oscar being the leader. But as of right now, Jaune is the leader, and Team Orange just doesn't work in my mind. Also, when it comes to the silhouettes that we saw in the Volume 7 opening and on the actual t-shirt that the Rooster Teeth store released, we have in the order Jaune Arc first, then Lai Ren, then Oscar Pine, then Nora Valkyrie. So this automatically indicates that Jaune is the leader, because with the silhouettes that were shown in the Volume 7 opening alongside that was Team Rwby. Rwby is always first, followed by Weiss, followed by Blake, followed by Yang. It's been that way since Volume 1, since the original trailers that kicked off the Rwby series. it's always been in the order that the team name is. So, with these 4 characters officially appearing in this order in both the Volume 7 opening and on the t-shirt in the Rooster Teeth store, Team Orange just doesn't make sense, and neither does Team Juniper. Lai Ren and Nora Valkyrie would have to be switched for Team Juniper to actually work. So, logically, Team Alpine just makes the most sense, and that's honestly how I came to call them Team Alpine based on what I saw in the Volume 7 opening, that Oscar Pine was being added to Team Junior, Jaune, Nora, and Ren, and with that being the case and the order that they appeared, Team Alpine was the logical choice. If there are other acronyms that you guys can come up with for that order of the names, I would be very interested in hearing that, but I'm still going to call them Team Alpine. And even if you do prefer to call them Team Juniper, that's completely fine. If you prefer to call them Team Orange, that's completely fine as well. I'm just going to refer to them as Team Alpine. And personally, I don't really like the idea of referring to this team as Team Juniper, as it kind of implies that Oscar is more of a replacement for Pyrrha. And it also avoids the confusion of which Team Juniper are you referring to, because just saying Team Juniper could refer to Volumes 1 to 3, consisting of Jaune, Nora, Pyrrha, and Ren. Or if this is called Team Juniper now, then it could refer to the current timeline, and you would have to refer to which one you're referring to, just an extra little thing to avoid. And on top of that, I like the idea that Team Juniper was a name reserved for the team that included Pyrrha, and just something with new members deserves a new team name and new identity along with it, and Team Alpine is just the one that fits the most. But that being said, there are a couple of things about the name Alpine that might not exactly fit with the other team names that we've seen already in the Rwby series, as if they are named Team Alpine, it would be the first team name that has 2 initials pulled from the last names of characters. The A pulled from Jean Arc, and the P pulled from Oscar Pine. The L pulled from Lai Ren is actually his first name. There was a bit of confusion about that as well, because his name is Lai Ren. Lai being his first name, Ren being his last name, which is his family name, as his parents are named Li Ren and An Ren. So Ren is definitely his family name, Lai is his first name, and he's just called by his last name based on the cultural values, I believe, that are meant to be represented by Lai Ren's character, being based on Mulan, etc. So this would be the first team name that has 2 initials pulled from last names, and would also be the first team name that we would see that has the leader's initial pulled from the leader's last name as well. And that might be the reason why Rooster Teeth chose Team Orange instead, wanting to differentiate it from Team Juniper, but wanting to keep more first names rather than last initials, which does make sense, but I still prefer Team Alpine. And we'll continue to use that team name until things change in Volume 8, because Volume 8 is going to change a lot of things for a lot of characters, including probably a lot of different teams. Teams that we may not have seen in the Rwby series, but I'm sure some teams are going to be losing a couple letters, or possibly all of the letters, and Volume 8 is going to be crazy, a lot of things are going to change. For now, it's Team Alpine, we'll see what it ends up being in the future, but overall, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Which team name do you prefer for the group of Jaune, Ren, Nora, and Oscar? Is there a different arrangement of them, a different acronym that you have come up with for this group of 4? Or do you prefer Team Juniper, or Orange, or Alpine? Does my argument for why I like Team Alpine make sense, or do you have a different argument as to why one of the other names makes sense? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I look forward to hearing what you guys think, as this discussion is definitely going to come up again, and this is the video I'm going to point people to when it does come up. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, got you thinking a bit more about team names and how things are named in the Rwby series. If you want to know more about the color naming rule in general, I'll link the video up in the corner. But with that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe if you did. Join the Guild of the Eternal Flame. Tweet me at Phoenix Knight 7. Join our Discord server, link in the description below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.